All right, good morning, folks. Today is November 3rd, 2023. This is Coffee with Community Services, Alta California's Regional Center's weekly service provider meeting. My name is John Decker, the Director of Community Services. We are going to do some staff introductions and then we're going to get into our agenda for today. Thank you all for joining us. We've got 64 folks on right now. So from our community services department, I see Tom on this morning. Good morning, Tom and Sydney. Good morning. I see Scott and Christine and Jolana. Good morning. Our CSS manager, Michelle, is on. I see our intake and clinical director, Camelia, this morning as well. Good morning. Client services manager, Kanisha, is on. Good morning, Kanisha, as well. Our lead CSS, Jason, is on. Good morning, Jason. I see Beverly and Leah from Community Services, and I see Rhonda, our housing specialist, and I see Christy Owasa on, and Rihanna from Community Services, and I see our Specialized Services and Supports Manager, Jordan, is on this morning. Good morning, Jordan, too. Christy Owasa, I'm going to bug you here today. After I do my introductions, I'm going to ask you to do just a moment about what your position is at Alta, because we haven't talked about it, I don't think, too widely. And you have kind of a cool job. So I want to touch on that real quickly after we finish our introductions here. Associate Client Services Director Tracy Brown is on this morning. Good morning, Tracy. I see Christy Schaefer on from Community Services, and Shauna and Isabella as well. Good morning. My assistant Zach is on. Good morning. Let's see, I see Rowena from Client Services Managers and BJ. Good morning. Associate Client Services Director Faye is on. I see Elijah from Community Services. Good morning. And Ethan is on there too. All right. I think I caught as many as I could before I got to run onto my agenda. Real quickly, Christy Owasa, I just wonder if you could just unmute yourself real quickly. We have your position is a little bit different at our regional center, and I kind of do want to highlight some of these specialized positions that we have. So maybe if you could let folks know maybe kind of a little bit how long you've been with the regional center, maybe some of the things you've done, and then kind of just what your position is.
Well, I do have a cool job, so I'm really enjoying it. I've been at the regional center for 23 years. I've done everything from case management and adult services to criminal court liaison. And now I am the transition specialist for Alta Regional Center. And I'm also a facility liaison for a couple of our community crisis homes, including 2 regional resources for Northern California regional centers and enhanced behavioral support homes. And so my job as a transition specialist is to help bring people from restrictive settings into the crisis homes or the enhanced behavioral support homes, work with the team to help stabilize them, and then step them down to a lower level of care. So I am all about stepping down. What can we do? What kind of supports and services do we need? And I really enjoy the fact that I don't have to think outside the box. I just don't have a box. And got rid of it. If there's something we think we need, our team can figure out what we need to do to get it. So right now I get to work with a lot of different regional centers in the IMD step down homes. And that's just another community crisis home, but specifically for people that are coming from locked settings like College Hospital and the bungalows. So there you go.
Perfect. Excellent.
Thank you, Christy.
As many would expect, Christy had no idea that I was going to ask her to talk about that today. But again, at our regional center, it's really nice to be able to have these positions specialized. And we've been able to do this with kind of the specialized funding that we've been able to gather through our CPP unit, historically. Jordan talks about how we transitioned away from a lot of our work towards actually institutionalizing people, towards more of the closure of the institutional settings. And then in Christy's position, we still have individuals that do end up in those types of settings, but now we have a specialist that can really work to get them out of there as quickly as possible. There's just been so much more focus on keeping folks in those settings for the least amount of time possible. So having Christy's experience and creativity in kind of looking at the services and supports helps those transitions occur.
Can I just share a real quick success story?
Please, yeah, absolutely.
Came from a CCH, so this is a person who had many, many failed residential settings, CPP homes, specialized residential. Nothing was working out. She was in the crisis home, and they helped stabilize her. Finally got her in. She's in SLS. She used to go into the psych hospital all the time. She went to the hospital for a medical reason and then went home instead of trying to be admitted. She goes to day program now. Her life is so much fuller, and really she enjoys it so much more now. So there's a success.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Christy. Excuse me. All right, I am very cognizant of the things that are going on in the chat right now. So we have heard from a number of providers. I don't know Jennifer Bloom's quite on yet, but she was dealing with encryption issues earlier this week with gosh, I forget, Easter Seals, I think, or someone. So we did change our regional centers encryption, and it sounds like it is causing some challenges for folks. Anyone at Alta have any further information about what we could maybe provide to service providers, or maybe we need to track this down and then send out a message to all of our folks, maybe via e-billing, because e-billing I think has the most accurate email addresses. Are we having a number of folks that are dealing with so Leah's trying to get it figured out? Leah, what have you figured out so far?
I've just kind of been troubleshooting. So I know that we got a kind of like an email that says that we can send it to the providers for receiving encryptions, but it didn't seem like it was anything extra. So just kind of like you're going to receive the email, you click on it, and then it's going to give you a code, and then you go from there. So that's all I've got. That's the most recent. I didn't know if there was anything else though.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
know that specifically Jennifer Bloom was working on trying to resolve this issue. And so we will, because now I'm seeing in the chat even more people, so we will work on getting a correspondence out to folks that are dealing with this issue. Any other providers? For us, the codes have not been coming through. So again, if some of you, we've got almost 90 people on, but if some of you are here having this, I'm sure a number of other providers are too. So, and I still think e-billing might be the best email addresses to use. So I will connect with Iqbal and with our IT department and see if we can get something out to folks to assist them in being able to get the encrypted emails from us.
John, it's Rowena. I just wanted to say that Herman did send out an email to the regional center staff. I did try it out with one of my providers yesterday and it did work. So I think it's just really following. There's two attachments to the emails. One was receiving, one was sending. And so, so something has gone out, and looks like our providers have been able to, so I don't know what the barrier could be.
So and did that go out via the Alta Action, or did it go out just internally to us?
Just internal. It hasn't been sent out to outside our agency.
So I'll make sure that gets out to all the community services specialists, and then I'll work on packaging it up for Herman to send it out to service providers via MailChimp, and then we can also talk to Iqbal about getting it out via the e-billing email addresses as well, because I don't want individual service coordinators having to deal with 1,000 questions from everyone about this. So, okay. All right. And for our agenda today, let me start that now. We've got a few different things. We're going to talk about the fact that we do not have a meeting next week. Alta is going to be closed for Veterans Day, so we will not be meeting. There's an update on Valley Mountain Regional Center. Some of you might decide that you want to be the next executive director at Valley Mountain Regional Center. So we're going to let you know how you can all apply to be our coworker. And then DSP stipend, we're going to give a little update on that. Michelle's absolute favorite topic, along with the biennials, which is also Michelle Duchesne's favorite topic. She's going to give an update on that as well. We are going to discuss our upcoming DSP collaborative job fair next week. My goodness. And we've got upcoming micro enterprise fair. We've got a CRDP plan that's quickly coming together in the next 10 days. We've got a new directive that came out a minute before Coffee with Community Services started. which never happens. We always get our directives after Coffee with Community Services. So you all are going to get a live look at the new directive that came out related to trailer bill changes for restored services and new participant directed services. This, I believe, was the one that we were hoping for from August, and so it looks like we got it on November 3rd. So I will share my screen with that information. I'm sure DDS will post it on their website in a little bit as well. So first, as I mentioned, we are not going to be having Coffee with Community Services on November 10th. However, I'm very excited to announce that apparently we are going to have a awesome presentation about Santa Day on November 17th. Is that right, Michelle? Awesome. All right, so we're going to have a Santa Day presentation. Hopefully we get as much participation from our service providers as possible. It certainly has made our event successful in the past. You know, nothing like seeing our service providers, you know, bringing in all the clients and, you know, being able to have a packed house. So we'll get into that during our next meeting. All right, so I will share with folks, as it may be news to people, that Tony Anderson has announced that he is going to be not renewing his contract, I think is the term, with Valley Mountain Regional Center. And some folks are vendors with Valley Mountain Regional Center. They may have got this message. I think it went out kind of last week to people as well. I know it was in last week's VMRC newsletter. And so they are beginning their executive search for Tony's position. They have some information about their process. I think if you go on Valley Mountain Regional Center's website, you'll be able to get this. But if you're interested in applying, you can email your resume and cover letter by November 13th to their board chair selection committee person. And so may all of your future employment wishes come true if that is what you so desire for yourself. So that is in the chat there for folks if they are interested in being a partner to Alta California Regional Center as the next director of Valley Mountain Regional Center. With that, Tony will be leaving, I think, starting in January and moving over to ARCA, the Association of Regional Center Agencies. So for our regional center system, I think it's really cool to have Tony back in a role in advocacy. I knew Tony for many years when he was the executive director of the ARC of California. That's how I first started interacting with him. And he's been with the developmental disability, you know, system for like 32 years, coming up from a DSP. So it'll be cool having him in that statewide leadership role at ARCA, coming on as their associate director, I believe, in January. So any questions about that? Like I said, it's in the chat if folks are interested in throwing their hat in for that one. All right. DSP stipend, Michelle Duchesne's absolute favorite topic. It's still going on. I'm still getting emails from service providers saying, like, can I do this? And does it apply to me? And I know I'm getting the messages out there as much as possible to transportation providers, but how's it going, Michelle?
It's coming along. So this week, our report had 491 additional DSPs that completed the training for last week. Raven and Belinda, my DSP stipend team, continue to send out emails for confirmation and gathering the stipend agreement signatures. And I know that we've been working with accounting and they're still processing and getting those all set up. They have not made any payments at this time, but I know we're getting pretty close to that. We still are waiting for the department for additional questions that you guys have shared. Please continue to send those to the DSP stipend at Alta Regional inbox, and I will continue to reach out. DSP is direct support professional to for that question in the chat. Are there any other questions or anything else, John?
No, I know that there are questions out there about whether or not people can, and we still don't have this answer back from DDS, which is, you know, whether or not people that were working for our vendors but may not be funded through regional center purchase of service dollars, you know, can they still qualify for the DSP stipend? So I know we've put that question in more than once to DDS, and we certainly can talk about it at the Provider Advisory Committee meeting, which is next Thursday, I believe. if we do have more of an update. But again, I think I shared this last week that, our executive director specifically reached out to DDS on behalf of you all to ask some of these questions and really was given the same guidance back that is on the website. And so there's really nothing I don't think that DDS is willing to put in writing beyond what we're seeing right now kind of on their website. So we got a little bit more language about transportation professionals or something like that. In the last one, I am telling, again, I feel very strongly that having our transportation drivers doing the DSP training would do nothing but benefit our clients. And so, and with the language that DDS put in there, we all feel strongly saying that it applies to the drivers as well, and obviously any aides too that would participate in transportation activities. So, go
I
ahead,
will say
Michelle.
too that the FAQ sheet is supposed to be a living document online. They have slowly added. So I keep checking it to make sure that any questions that we proposed to them, they haven't added on there, but it is on their website. You guys can check that out. Last copy we had talked about, I wanted to get you guys over a list of all the regional centers and their DSP contact, because I know you guys have multiple areas that you guys serve, not only the regional or Alta regional catchment area. So I know that Zach was working on pulling that together, so we should be able to share that shortly with all of you.
So the workforce initiatives is, I believe, where, everything is going to stay updated. I just saw it said updated October 25th. So I think that's when maybe we got the last update. Are you guys seeing my shared screen with the workforce initiatives there? All right, thank you.
Yes.
So again, when we're talking about where you can find this information, doing the search to the workforce initiatives, it's got all the different initiatives on here. The DSP training stipend is what, specifically we're talking about. And then the guidance to regional centers is, these fact sheets. And then we know what the authorizing statute information is. And then they have done, some FAQs and additional information as well. So again, we really want folks to take advantage of this. We at the Regional Center are doing everything that we absolutely can do to get things processed faster. I will say accounting did bring on a new staff person just because there is just a crush of activity from community services that then goes over to accounting that needs to get processed. So quite a bit going on there. Let's see. Biennial assessments. I know that has been a big eye
Real quick
opener.
before we move on.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Garrett, please.
Yeah, how often do those confirmation letters go out? We got one that first week, but none since then. And I may have misremembered that I thought that they were going out every week, but maybe it's every month.
So we get our reports weekly from the ARCA learning management system, and they are sending them out. We did have an influx of almost 4,000. So I know that DSPs, so I know that my team continues to send those. So as we get your vendor number, if it comes up in the new report, we will continue to send out those on a regular basis. We're doing about, my team is processing about 100 emails a day, 100 confirmation emails a day.
Okay, so just wait on that next one.
Yeah, and if you know some and it's been a few weeks and you're not getting those, just send an email to the DSP stipend altaregional.org. I will put that in the chat. And we can do a search.
Let's not decide right this moment this answer. Let's talk about this week, and then maybe on Thursday when we have the pack we can discuss this, because the question is, how frequently should a provider expect that they might get a letter? And so maybe we can develop a timeline, like Michelle, like maybe at minimum monthly or not, or something like, but let's discuss it.
And it also depends on if a DSP actually submitted it for your vendor. You might not get any if you have an influx of all your DSPs in the beginning, and then a few weeks go by where there's no one that's completing the training that has assigned you as their employer. So it does really differ a lot.
So yeah, let's think about that a little bit, and then maybe we can get back to the service providers, and because it's tough not knowing whether or not you are or not waiting for one or not from the regional center, whether or not it went through appropriately. We've been telling folks that we've been grooming these lists extensively because we're getting, 28,000 that turns down to a much smaller number when we look at which ones actually have active or previous authorizations during the time frame. That's, one of the things. Have we begun sending out our messages yet to folks? Michelle?
No, I'm still working with Iqbal and Eli to finalize that list.
So to share further with folks, we have continued to look at the list. As folks are aware, what we receive is raw data. And as Michelle just got done discussing, she has been working with Zach to gather a list from all the other regional centers so that we have the DSP stipend submission information, or at least the email addresses for everyone. Because between the crossover between regional centers, or because we have inaccurate vendor numbers to go along with the DSPs, it just makes it a challenge. And so again, there's no real statewide answer to this. Regional centers are all trying to kind of figure out how to best be responsive and do this quickly. But yeah, let's have this discussion, Michelle, and then by the PAC meeting, we can share with folks maybe a little bit more about what they can expect, and maybe we can put out something in writing, you know, to the vendors, like, hey, you know. So we'll promise that for Thursday.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Michelle.
And then if other folks have feedback about that, you know, certainly email Michelle between now and our PAC meeting too, on between now and Wednesday, preferably. Thank you. And about the PAC meeting, since before we jump over to the next thing, which is the biennials, anyone want to plug the PAC meeting? I know it's coming up next Thursday. We got anything exciting going on at PAC?
I can talk about PAC meeting.
There's Lindsay.
So, yep, our meeting is next Thursday from 9:30 to 11:30. You can join virtually, or we meet in the Brenda Smith conference room there at Alta. And our agenda includes, sorry, I'm almost there. Our agenda always includes an update from Lori Benalis, which also includes updates from Community Services, which is very informative and great information. It always includes updates from various advocacy groups around the state to stay on top of what's happening legislatively in the state, as well as the various work groups that DDS has. So we get a lot of information about rate study implementation or the quality incentive implementation for services. Some additional things that are happening in November are getting some information on SLS enhanced services, getting information about community services alerts. And I think that's really what people here would be interested in. So please join us. Come to our PAC meeting. It's an open meeting. Yes, I will send out a link.
I am going to share the link as well. That is cool. On our website. I'm going to go to our calendar. So let me I'll do calendar and for the PAC, and then we'll jump to biennials. So let me share my screen real quick. Okay. So if you go to Alta Regional's website, are we seeing Alta Regional's website? Yep. All right. And we can go to the menu and go to events and calendar here. And you can see our calendar. And right here, this is where you can register for the meeting. And we're doing it hybrid. So you can come to the meeting in person, even if you're not a member, correct? Right now, we don't have any restrictions to that.
Yep. Okay. Anybody can come in person or virtually.
There's a lot of changes that are going on with regional centers and services. And so I can never encourage folks enough to please participate in the provider advisory committee. It's very important for the regional center to have the direct input from the service providers that are actually working with the clients and hearing directly from the families about the challenges that they're facing with services. And it really does impact our decision making at an executive level to get a lot of that feedback. And nowadays you can tell because Lori basically has our entire executive team, our associate client services directors that attend the provider advisory committee meeting as well. So again, there's a lot of opportunities to really connect with the folks here at the regional center. Typically our CSS managers are there, as well as our employment specialist is there too. And so we'll look forward to seeing folks there. And let's see, let me go over to
John,
Michelle.
I'm sorry, real quick. Do you have to sign up to show up in person or just show up?
You can just show up. You don't need to register to show up in person or virtually. Just come.
And it's there at the main office, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. And biennials. Again, many of you are aware that the state auditors came to Alta California Regional Center a few years, well, was that a year and a half ago or so? And part of the findings of the state auditor report was that the regional centers, Alta being one of them, was not completing the biennial vendor file reviews that are required by regulation. And so with that, we have had to really get a lot of resources behind the review of these. And it's also been a surprise to a number of vendors who've had to, update their vendor files and provide, updated licenses and information. But Michelle, how are things going? What have we been up to?
So we're winding down on our first year of biennial review. So by the end of December, we have reviewed 641 vendor files. And with that, we are looking just to ensure that all your vendorization documents are current, they're completed and accurate. So everybody that's been reviewed this year, congratulations, you won't have to be reviewed again until 2025. So next year starts a new year and new list of vendors, and we will continue to add to that. So the process, we will look at your files. We have a letter that we send out to you explaining the directive and what it is, what we're looking for, and just a list of documents that are missing from those files. And then another part of that is that we have to verify if you have served somebody, at least one of our clients within the last 24 months. If you have not served a client within the last 24 months, we issue you a letter, and that basically is just asking if you want to continue to be a vendor. That's a simple response to that email and that letter, just saying that yes, you would. We'll save that in your file, and then we move on to the next. So that's it. That's my update for so far. We have about 5 team members working on these daily.
Yeah, again, it is an extensive project. One thing that is nice is that we are able to, especially with the rate study implementation, close out vendorizations that we have not used for quite some time, ones that people haven't kept up their licenses. I say that because when I report at the board meeting, I do talk about some of the vendor closures, and sometimes those are those providers that during the biennial review process, when we've asked them whether or not they just want to keep their vendorization open with us and update their vendor files with their new licenses, etc., they've said instead, we're no longer serving regional center clients, and you're welcome to close us out. So that's fine. We don't want extra vendorizations clogging up our kind of vendor lists, and we really only want to have those individuals vendored that are really active resources for our clients. And so the biennials really do, I think, ensure some good quality there and making sure that we've got everything updated. It's just a very large task considering we have so many of you that we work with every month. But I think we've got over 1,000 different service providers that are billing our regional center monthly currently. And you're all very important, and we all do our very best to try to be responsive. But there's just a whole lot of them, and it really came into focus when the biennials needed to get processed in this very timely manner. So appreciate Michelle's leadership and all the staff that have been working on those as well. All right, I want to go over and talk a little bit about next week and some activities that we have. I'm going to share my screen here, and we have our upcoming DSP Collaborative Job Fair at Sierra College. And we are going to be out there from 10 till 2 o'clock at Sierra College, 500 Rockland Road. I don't think I had Carly on this morning, but I believe we had 45 service providers, employers that are going to have tables there. I believe we're going to have an opportunity to do live scans right on site for people. So very excited about that this Tuesday. Certainly want you all to please, if you have an opportunity to share this on social media. Again, we've got a number of you that are already participating, and really looking forward to a good event there. So that is coming up next week as well. And we also have, and I'm going to jump back over to our Alta new calendar. We have some upcoming events in addition to our provider advisory committee. So let me share my screen real quickly. And let's see, we should be back to Alta's event calendar, I hope. Yeah, there we go. All right, and so we've got, of course, our job fair at Sierra College to look forward to. There's a Special Olympics Northern California Health Fair. But I want to talk about the Client Advisory Committee meet and greet. Again, we had David Lopez that was here last week, and he gave an update on the fact that we are going to be having a meet and greet for our clients, for our Client Advisory Committee. So just wanted to point that out, that is going to be one of our upcoming events. We're going to be doing our NCI survey public meeting on November 16th. Again, I think this will be a good opportunity to hear about this during, I think it's going to be during one of our board meetings, actually. And then we do have upcoming our Adult Day and Employment Programs Vendor Forum. That's going to be November 30th. And the Micro Enterprise Fair. I believe reaching out to Carly, we'll drop Carly's email in the chat, is the best way to get your, if you're connected to anyone that is involved with a micro enterprise and you want to help them get over to Alta to sell their wares for the holidays. I think we were going to have a very successful event there. So that's going to be the Micro Enterprise Fair on December 5th at Alta. And there's Carly's information right there, actually, if you would like to sign up for that for our Client Employment Specialist. And then we have our Residential Vendor Forum that's coming up on December 14th. And as we mentioned last week, we have all of our vendor forums kind of loaded in for the upcoming year, at least out of Michelle's unit. I don't think we've quite got Helen's on there yet, but we're going to add some more on there too. So those are some of our upcoming events that we have that we want to encourage people to participate in. As I said, and I looked last week and we didn't have Santa Day on there, and we still don't this week. But next week we're going to have a whole presentation from Kristen Lenardi on Santa Day, which is on December. Anyone? Is that Friday?
The 8th.
Friday the 8th. Friday the 8th. And do we know the times? Anyone?
10 to 4, right?
10 to 4. There it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Friday
sure.
the 8th.
We'll have the whole presentation on it next week. A little.
Well, in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Sorry, 2 weeks.
All right. Additionally, I mentioned earlier, we are working on our deadline of November 13th for our CRDP submissions. I know we've been talking about, for many Coffee with Community Services sessions about different ideas for the Community Resource Development Plan and for the Community Placement Plan. So appreciate all the hard work that Jordan and her staff and Rhonda have been putting in trying to get, some good suggestions here for us. So we'll be putting that in, and then hoping to hear back from the department. Looks like we will have, I think, at least 2 housing proposals to put forth for multifamily housing developments. So excited about that too. Additionally, we have, hot off the presses, a directive from DDS that did not come out on Friday at 5 o'clock, but instead came out at 10:30. And so we have it to share today. We've got the new directive that no one has seen, and I've only read really quickly, so this will be fun, that has just come out about trailer bill changes for restored services and new participant-directed services. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but for the most part, I think we already had an interim fix to this issue, which was how we've been able to vendor some folks to do the participant-directed services FMS for our folks that want to do social rec. But this is the directive. It just came out, as I mentioned. I think, are you guys seeing my shared screen with the directive? Yeah? Cool. Thumbs up. Nice. So again, this talks about trailer bill changes related to the restored services. A few things in here. This is a recap of the previous directives that have come out related to social recreation and the different restored services. There is some guidance in here discussed before about not requiring people to exhaust services under in-home supportive services. That came out previously, but now it's been very clear in this directive as well related to the trailer bill. And we need to prioritize looking at services for non-English speaking individuals and communities of color as well. We need to look at increasing the availability of vendors. And so with that, there's a easy peasy checklist to get vendored for social recreation that's going to come out in addition to this. I think once we get this all formalized, we'll have Herman package this out to send via MailChimp to all of the service providers as well. Just give ourselves an opportunity. None of these things are big surprises, I don't think, because we've known that they've been in the trailer bill, but community outreach plans from the regional centers need to get updated as well. That was an early requirement for the restored services, is that the regional centers develop an outreach plan. Michelle Johnson and Jennifer Bloom, our directors of client services, worked really hard on that initially as well. And so that is one of the things that's included. There's a bunch of attachments that came along with this. One of them is those easy vendorization guidelines for social rec, but also the use of participant directed services for social recreation and camping services. Again, that was something that was not the director was given the authority to expand participant directed services to social recreation, but it didn't actually happen. And so this is it actually happening. And then there's an enclosure on here that goes into it a little bit further. Again, at our regional center, I think about 2 months ago, Iqbal worked with Jim Knight at DDS to be able to develop a way for us to be able to allow others to get vendored to do this already. I think On My Own was one. Didn't you guys get vendored to do this, Michelle, already? I think to do that. And I know we worked with like some of the financial management services as well. We were talking to them too about doing these, right, Helen? So now we just have it a little bit more formalized from DDS. But there's that. And then additionally, as it relates to the utilization of social recreation services, I think it's just reminding us to be consistent that we need to utilize that SRA subcode as it relates to tracking those authorizations. Again, the importance for that is social recreation can be under a number of different service codes. And so when we have a subcode like SRA that we put onto that, then that allows us to be able to see the total amount of billing that goes on for our regional center for a specific service. And so right now, that appears to be, in essence, how the department is viewing the regional centers is, are we getting the services out to the community? And by looking at those SRA subcodes, it really tries to capture all of those things. So I know our accounting department works hard to make sure that those get updated too. All right, I'm going to jump over to the chat here to see what we have this. Okay. Are there any transportation vendor forums in the next couple months? Helen, I don't know that we have anything scheduled right now. Right now, our efforts are really just getting the last 6, I think, because I had 2 vendors reach out to me yesterday that had not provided their information to R&D, and they were going to after my discussions with them yesterday. And so I think we still are focusing on our 6 transportation providers that have not yet provided their information to R&D so that we can be giving them additional referrals. And then making sure that our service coordinators and our managers are up to date on all of our internal processes, updating our own regional centers procedures.
That's
And
correct.
then once we've got that stuff finalized, then re-meeting with the service providers so that we can give like a very transparent, clear picture of what our new procedures are. We just have to train our own managers on the new procedures and the service coordinators too. So it'll just be I think probably another month or 2 before we can get anything out to service providers a little bit. Yes, exactly, Tony. We're being lazy. We're sitting around twiddling our thumbs here at the regional center. Yeah, there has been a tremendous impact because of some recent closures of a couple transportation providers as well. That has certainly made it a challenge. But we're finalizing all of this process so that it makes it a lot easier to train and understand for our internal staff and then for the service providers as well. I talked to a couple of transportation providers yesterday and really had to, really walk them through the R&D transition because they were just not familiar with it at all. And so we know that there's still a few out there that have not, kind of gotten over to that yet. And we want to ensure that we get that because it's going to continue to delay our ability to get our clients served until all of our current service providers can receive new referrals. And we understand that our new service provider, all of our service providers are very impacted with hiring and things like that right now, but we at least just need to get everyone set up so that we can get the referrals out to people to know what people can handle and what they can't handle. So that's kind of the best update. I know Marty has really been dedicating a lot of her time, Marty Eason, on this and gave a very extensive update to our case management leadership on where we're at with this transition. It has certainly been a challenging month for the month of October and getting a transition into a broker, but I think once we've really streamlined again these processes and been very clear about communicating them with everyone, I just feel like we can get more traction on getting over this huge backlog that we have right now. So anyways, we've got a lot of case management folks on here as well. We are just significantly impacted. But you know what, Mayra and Letty still show up to these meetings from R&D, even though they've got, I think 700 plus clients that we're still trying to find rides for right now. They're very impacted. So anyways, any questions about that? I will absolutely guarantee though that we will be having in-person or doing a vendor forum for the transportation folks, and really want to work with R&D to help set the agenda too for the things that they feel would also be most of assistance to everyone that they're working with through the transition as well. So all right, Michelle, Duchesne, or Jordan, or Helen, do we have anything else additional for folks today?
Not that I can think of.
All
I
right,
don't think so. Not on our CPP world.
Zach, I got your message, Zach, but I have to get into that a little bit more. Is this more updated information?
It is like quite literally something that was posted. Pablo sent it over to me. And so it is by DDS. It even has their logo on it. It's not something that I made.
Wow. So what we asked Zach to do, apparently we don't need to do. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah, it's kind of great.
There it is. Bam, in the chat, dropped it in. That's the listing of all of the contacts for all the other regional centers as it comes to the DSP stipend. So there it is. Very cool. All right. So Jordan, anything? Helen, anything else? All right. And I will see if Camille's got anything for folks.
Nope, still in business.
All right. We're the old intake and clinical department stays busy down there.
Yep, numbers still keep climbing.
That they do. Awesome. All righty. Let's see here. And I don't have Michelle and Jennifer. Anyone think from the ADs? Anything to share with folks? No, I see heads shaking. Right on. All right. Well, thank you all. Oh, look at that. We have all these other managers that popped on. Christina, good morning. And Shamir's on too. Good morning. All right. So we'll look forward to talking to folks in a couple weeks. Hopefully we'll see a bunch of you at the Provider Advisory Committee meeting next week as well. And we'll, other than that, hope folks have a great, for those that have a 3-day weekend next week, and a great 3-day weekend. And we'll look forward to talking to folks next week. If you need anything specific, please don't hesitate to reach out to your assigned community services specialist. Have a great day. Bye-bye.